it is easy to feel powerless watching someone you love get down on themselves and get stuck in feelings of failure. I know what that's like. How can you support them without making them feel worse or without bringing yourself down in the process? Keep watching for the 4 steps you can take today to help. And at the end, I'll show you how to make a plan of action with them so you can get them through it. The first thing you want to do is don't discount their negative reflections of themselves. When they come to you and they're diminishing themselves and you feel that and you see them going through this, allow them to speak. Listen to them. Empathize with their perspective. Let them know that you hear them. Reflect on what they're saying so you make sure that you understand where they're at, what they're saying, and what they're doing. This will allow them to let their guard down. Too often what we do is somebody will come to you and they'll say something, "I'm so ugly, I'm just hideous." And they're beautiful, right? And you're like, "No, you're not, you're beautiful. You look great," right? What that does is it immediately discounts what they're saying and makes them feel unheard. They may be beautiful, but there may be a piece of them that they're not satisfied with. But now you're telling them, "I'm not willing to look at that because you're beautiful and you don't get to say that." You want to let them hear you so that they'll drop their guard. That way, they will feel safe to then tell you why they think they're falling short. Have you had an experience with helping somebody who's been down on themselves? If you have, I'd love you to let me know in the comments below what you've done, because this is what I do. The second thing that you should do is help them recognize where they might be overly judgmental or harsh to themselves, right? You have to let them think of someone they love. Let them look through the gaze of the eyes of someone that they love and then turn that onto themselves, right? Often we are the most harsh critics of ourselves. And so we can get caught in deep just judgment of what it is we don't like. So if in the case of somebody that says, "I'm not beautiful," and you think they are, after you've heard them, then you can say, "You know what? What is it that you don't like?" And they can tell you, "Well, I've got this horrible skin thing right here on my cheek. It makes me look so bad." And you can say, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even notice that. You're so beautiful, I didn't notice that. But you know what? Look at me." And you can show them the flaws that you have in your own body. And they'll be like, "What? No, you look great." And then you can say, I agree with you. I do look great. And guess what? So do you. But when I start thinking about my small flaws, they overwhelm me. They make me only see the flaws when there's so much good to have. And this kind of reflection allows you to switch the lens of what they're doing and let go of that judgment that they're carrying. So they can become more forgiving of themselves as they look upon their own issues through the gaze of what they would do when they look at somebody they love. So at the end of this video, what I'm gonna do is tell you a story of what I did with one of my friends who was struggling. I did this kind of thing exactly the same, and it's effective, it helps. So see how I handled it at the end of this video. The third thing that you want to do after you've gotten to this point is you want to create a plan to overcome their current situation. Offer them support in pursuing it, right? Because what happens is we often will just start out, somebody will say something, you're like, "No, that's not true." You dismiss it, they walk away, they feel maybe a momentary relief for the fact that you told them it's not true, but they actually still believe it. They're still carrying that lens within themselves, and they don't have a way to get over it, and then they're gonna go to somebody else and say the same thing, and they'll dismiss them too, and that happens, you get dismissed all around. So you follow these steps, right? You get them to feel like you've heard them, you reflect, then you go and you allow them to see that you're looking at yourself with too harsh a lens, and let's figure out another way of looking at it. So you help them drop that intense sort of critical nature of themselves and look at themselves with more compassion, and then you can find a plan that will work, right? Once you get to that space where you've done all these steps, you can form this plan. And this plan is what will help them overcome, right? And that's where you get to be the real friend that you want to be and help them move out of this mental space that's got them in a place of pain. If you're still watching this, that probably means you'll love some of the other videos in my channel about interpersonal relationship skills and much more. So don't forget to subscribe. I'd love to have you be a part of this. The fourth thing that you want to do after you create the plan is pump them up with positive feedback. That is real and tangible for them to hold on to. Not stuff like, "Hey man, you're great. I think you're so awesome." No, give them very, very specific things that you admire about them, that you think are great, that target the very issue that they're dealing with, right? When you do this, it helps them to see that you see them. And in that space, they can trust what you're saying. They can hold it. A lot of times we throw out random compliments that mean nothing because they're compliments that we say to everyone. Right? Oh, you're the best. Man, you just make everybody happy. No, you don't. Nobody does, right? These aren't real compliments. But a compliment that says, you know what? When you walk into a room, the way you move and the way you smile, it just lifts me up every single time. That's a significant compliment that has something very tangible to it, connect with. So pump them up with something tangible and real. And then they can face their space and with a new sense of energy and go about it. I had a situation just recently where a friend of mine called and she was in a situation where she was having to start a new business and felt very overwhelmed by it. And she came to me to talk about it, and she's been doing, actually wasn't starting a new business, she needed to expand her business because she's already working, but just part-time from her home. And she was like, I've got to make more money. I've got to come up with a way to do it. And I can't do this because I don't have the qualifications. And so we sat down and I talked to her, and she just was reflecting on all of her shortcomings for what she wanted to do and who she wanted to be and how she didn't have the sufficient experience and education and all these things that she's focused on, and they're real. These are real things, right? And I listened to her and I was like, yeah, you're right. You don't have those things, right? We got into it. And then after getting that, she was like, she said, thank you. Everyone just says you're great, right? And she is great. But I let her know that I could hear what she was saying. I recognized that her fears were real. They were not false fears. They had something that needed to be addressed, and she could do it, right? But that left her in that place where I was with her in that moment. And then I said, okay, right? Let's go through this together. And we followed the steps. I helped her to then look at herself through the gaze of somebody that she would love upon herself, and changed her mindset from one of, I don't have all these things, to look at all that I have. And she began to realize, wow, I already have a number of clients in the exact space that I want clients. I just need 12 more. I already do this thing. And of course I want to be better. So I can work on that and create a plan. And we just laid it out and created a plan for her to get there. And then we created a contingency plan to cover her space if she couldn't do what she wanted in the time frame, all this stuff. And then, of course, I left her with a bunch of real concrete compliments. And she walked away feeling like she could do it. It was a really cool moment, right? Because I took somebody that came to me, a friend of mine, in need, struggling, beating themselves up for where they lacked, when all I could see was where they were great. And in fact, by the end, they could see where they were great themselves. I hope. That's how I felt when they left, right? And that is what you want to do. Make them feel like they've been heard, build them up, allow them to create a plan, and then let them go for it, man. It's great. If you like that, stick around. I got another video coming up on how to not self-sabotage a healthy relationship. I'm James Burnham. Thanks for joining me.